The Meaning of Maggie, Chapter 11. Dad, I tugged at the hospital bracelet. What is this? My voice was calm, even though my brain was screaming. He could tell I was upset. Okay, you caught me. He called for Mom. Honey, can you come in here? She appeared and Dad smiled weakly. Why don't we tell Maggie what's going on? I crossed my arms. Yeah, why don't we tell Maggie what's going on? Mom frowned at me. Hey, no attitude, okay? Yes, ma'am, I said under my breath. I crawled into bed with Dad. Mom pulled the covers up over both of us and sat down on the side of the bed. Dad's doctor thought a new medicine might make him stronger, and he had to get it right away. So that's why we left in such a hurry. But why didn't you just tell me that? There wasn't any time, Mom said. What kind of medicine? A really powerful one. It's kind of a steroid, Dad answered. Aren't those illegal? Are you breaking the law? No, Mom said. These are the safe and legal kind. They're going to give Dad a little pick me up, and there might be a few side effects. What's a side effect? It's something bad that can pop up when you're trying to make something better, Mom explained. Like how my stunted growth is a side effect of sharing a room with Tiffany? Mom shook her head. You're growing just fine, Maggie. I meant my emotional growth, Mom. Dad laughed, which was nice to hear, but I wasn't finished. So why did he go to the hospital? Well, the medicine is very special and can only be given at the hospital. It takes a long time to get all the medicine, so Dad stayed in the hospital overnight. What? Dad stayed in the hospital overnight? Why didn't we stay with him? Dad looked down. He straightened his left fingers with his right fingers, and it looked like he was just holding his own hand. I didn't want you girls to worry. I put his hand in mine. But that's our job. He squeezed his hand with his. No, Maggie, that's my job. He felt scared and kind of the same way I'd felt when we found Dad on the floor again when he dropped his fork. I hated that feeling. I hated it more than I hated anything in the world, including Brussels sprouts and acorn squash. Man, I hated acorn squash. I scooted over to get out of the bed. I'm going to get Layla and Tiffany. They should know about this. Mom stopped me. They already do. I didn't understand. How? We just got home. I told Tiffany this morning, and we told Layla the night before. That's when I pitched a fit. I pitched a fit even though I'd never pitched a fit before. Sure, I threw tantrums here and there as a kid, but mostly Tiffany was the fit pitcher in the family. Every other day and sometimes hour, she'd scream. Why can't I stay out past 10? Why can't I dye my hair pink? Why can't I join a weirdo band of gypsies and travel from seedy town to seedy town with a muscle man and bearded lady? Okay, she never shouted the last one, but I could see it coming. She was always filled with so much teenage rage, and I never wanted to be like her. I never wanted to lose my mind. Plus, I was more mature than her, and grown-ups don't fight. They debate. That's a good term, debate. But the anger I felt then wasn't debatable. It was boiling, and I couldn't stop it from exploding. I yelled one yell after the next. Why did you keep this from me? Why did they blatantly lie to me? Why did they tell Layla and Tiffany everything and me nothing when I was the one with the perfect GPA, grade point average? I was the one with the off the charts critical thinking skills. I was the one who was going to change the whole wide world one day. I was going to be president, to be commander in chief, and they wouldn't even let me be a leader in my own house. You're right, Maggie, Mom finally admitted. You're totally right. I wasn't finished. I don't even know who you two are anymore. Don't be so dramatic, Mom said. Parents make mistakes sometimes. Tell me about it, I yelled in a tone. I wrapped my scarf tight around my neck and got back into bed with Dad. I unfolded his arms to get into his nook so we could watch whatever movie I wanted because I deserved to get whatever I wanted. When I pulled on his arm, he winced, and I saw that on the opposite side of his elbow, his arm was the most purple I'd ever seen. I bit my lip. Does it hurt? A little, but I'm a big tough guy, remember? I laughed even though I didn't want to laugh. It was what I liked most about Dad. He was funny, even when he wasn't supposed to be. I pulled myself close to his side. I love you, Dad. He used his unpurple arm to pull his purple arm around my shoulder. I love you more, Maggie. I was mad, to say the least. Every member of my family had lied to me. They intentionally kept a secret from me, an important secret that so many others knew before me. Dad knew, Mom knew, Layla knew, Tiffany knew, David knew. The nurses who took care of Dad knew. The doctor who listened to Dad's heart knew. The parking lot attendant at the hospital knew. The hospital bracelet maker knew. The Garfield Band-Aid giver knew. Would I ever be able to trust any of them again? I sulked and pondered and wondered and ignored my family for days and days. Mom tried to make amends with chocolate. I made a batch of Toll House cookies just for you. Want one? I shook my head, escaped into my room, and waited for the coast to be clear. And then belly crawled back into the kitchen, stole two from the still warm plate, and escaped again. What? I didn't see any reason why the cookies should suffer. It wasn't their fault she couldn't be trusted. Dad tried to trick me with TV. Oh, wow, he yelled, "My favorite movie, Pippi Longstocking, is on. I wish someone would watch it with me." No dice. I didn't need Pippi's problems. I had my own. Tiffany didn't even try to talk to me, which wasn't a surprise. We were in a war long before this. It was like the Cold War, only it wasn't really cold because Dad always kept the thermostat at a balmy 78 degrees. I was sure I'd never talk to any of them again. I was prepared to secede from our family and start my own across the masking tape border in my room. In fact, I was working on the design of my new family crest when Layla came in and collapsed on my bed. I need to know everything you know about Atticus Finch. Good luck. I turned away from her and focused all my attention on my notebook. Come on, she pleaded. It's life or death. I raised an eyebrow. Okay, if it's life or death for my English paper. Have you even read To Kill a Mockingbird? Ooh, there's actually a good brain pop video on this. It's probably the easiest book in the world to understand, even for you. Yes, I read it, and I even understood it. I'm not an idiot, you know? I kind of felt bad for implying that she was. Come on, help me. I just finished my horrible biology homework, and I don't have any brain power left for this. She looked genuinely desperate, so I decided to help her. What do you need to know? Ah, yes, you're the best, she hugged me. I need to write about 3 traits that make Atticus Finch a strong and complex character. That's easy. Is your pencil sharpened? She nodded, yes, and I stood like great orators stand, and I clasped my hands behind my back like all great orators. Ooh, I wonder what an orator is. We should look it up. First things first, Atticus Finch was a man of great integrity. He wasn't afraid to do something he believed in, even if it meant putting everything on the line. Not only did he have integrity, he believed that every man should. That's why he defended Tom Robinson. This is great, Maggie, Layla said without looking up from her notebook. Keep going. He wasn't a showman or a showboater or a show anything else. He was a quiet hero, which you don't come across often, you know? Heroes are always often these big deal guys with muscles who love talking about themselves. But not Atticus. He was above all that. She nodded. Cool. I just need one more. Well, I guess if there's one more thing to say about him, it would be that he taught by example. Jem and Scout learned that he always had honest intentions, even if he wasn't always honest with them. He was just the most stand-up guy ever. I can see that, she nodded. He seemed like a really cool dad. But don't tell Dad I said that. He always says he's the coolest. I shook my head with certainty. Our dad has nothing on Atticus Finch. Yeah, I don't think Atticus Finch ever got arrested for stage diving, she laughed. Even if he did, he would never have told his kids about it. Dad's all about the TMI. TMI? I asked. Too much information. That's great. Yeah, Dad is all about the TMI. But come on, you have to admit, he's pretty brave. I shrugged. I guess. But she didn't let it go. Maggie, you're too scared to get your ears pierced. Look what's happening to him. It's way scarier. Just think about it. No one had ever really told me to think because, well, I was always thinking. Telling me to think was like telling me to breathe. It was like telling my hair to grow, my heart to beat, and my bones to get bonier. But it took a moment, and I thought long and hard about what she said. My thoughts led me to the truth. I had been so preoccupied with what had happened to me, how I had been lied to, betrayed, and backstabbed by my own family. It consumed me so much I hadn't not even once thought about what was happening to Dad. I considered all the brave people throughout history and literature. What did Dad have in common with them? Abraham Lincoln and Dad both had unruly heads of hair. But the comparison stopped there. Dad and Franklin Roosevelt were both in wheelchairs, but Dad didn't end a world war from his. The closest thing he ever got to revolution was demanding that Mom stop trying to switch him to decaf. When I thought about it some more, Dad did have something in common with all of these bravest of brave people. Abraham Lincoln, Franklin Roosevelt, Anne Frank, Dr. King, Rosa Parks, Amelia Earhart, Atticus Finch, and my dad, Dan Mayfield. They never, ever gave up. I thought about things a lot, and maybe it was time for me to let it all go. Maybe it was time for me to forgive my family. Yes, Dad had lied to me, and that was a huge deal, but he'd apologized. Mom had too. I just wasn't ready to hear it. I couldn't be mad at Layla because she was just the innocent bystander. But I could be mad at Tiffany because, well, I was always mad at Tiffany. Layla stood up to leave. Thanks so much. You really saved my life. Anytime. I wrapped my scarf around my neck and followed her out of the room and into the living room where Dad was on the phone. He sounded better than ever. Yeah, Doc, I'm feeling good. I don't think I'll win any bodybuilding competitions, but I definitely feel stronger. I gave him a smile, my first one in 4 days, and he smiled back. Then I headed for the kitchen where Mom was making dinner. Hey, Mom. I made my peace. What's up? She looked surprised. She finally speaks. I half smiled. Is there anything I can do to help? I meant in life, but she thought I meant for dinner. Yeah, you can set the table. Dinner's almost ready. I reached for the plates and Mom helped me carry all 5 of them down to the counter. With one hand, I always forgot how strong she was. I gathered the forks and knives, and for the first time in days, I didn't want to throw them at anybody. I wasn't so angry anymore. But there was something I needed to know. Hey, Mom, the other day at the museum, I hesitated. Suddenly, I felt like I was asking too much, but I really needed to know. What did you wish for at the wishing well? Her eyes told me everything. I knew she had wished for the medicine to work. Go get your sisters, okay? It's time to eat. I knocked on Layla's door and she actually answered. Hey, Maggie, come in. This had never happened. In my whole life, Layla had never let me in her room. I walked through the door and the smell of hairspray and perfume almost knocked me out. There were magazines all over the place and torn out pictures of rock stars taped all over the walls. The rock stars were wearing just as much makeup as Tiffany did. Weird. Clothes were everywhere, and I mean everywhere. I tiptoed away from a piece of clothing that was freaking me out. It's time for dinner. She fixed a rogue hair in the mirror. I'll be right there. Hey, I knew what I wanted to say, but I had a hard time figuring out how to say it. You didn't really need my help with your homework, did you? She turned and wrapped my scarf in a fancy bow around my neck. Of course I did. You're the smartest girl alive, right? Well, I stared at my feet and spoke under my breath. Maybe not all the time. All five of us dined on dinner, and all five of us spoke. Even me. It was nice, but it wasn't like the good old days. And I was starting to think it never would be again. I looked over at Dad and saw the most purple of purple bruises finally beginning to fade. It reminded me that I wasn't any closer to fixing Dad. I knew eventually the bruises would disappear completely, but the memory of it wouldn't. And I would always remember that purple. But I wasn't going to lose hope. I wasn't going to give up because brave people never, ever give up.